Hello, this is Lisa Rose here on Connect to Love on PRNFM, and I'm joined by the incredible, inspirational Michael J. Russ. I want to say welcome, Michael. I'm so excited today because we have another fun topic that you inspired. I had an idea of something, and then it's actually connected to what you had sent me, but I first want to welcome you, and we can kick this off.
So much fun. Always fun to not only get together with you, but have our audience with us to connect with and talk about something really, really cool. And because there's a lot of cool stuff out there that we can talk about. And today's topic is mind blowing. It's beautiful.
Without a doubt, Michael. Michael and I text back and forth. We chat every few days as well, but Michael had sent me a video that was a Next Level Soul video with a gentleman, Lee Harris, who is a channel similar to Carol Collins. And Lee Harris channels a group of souls who call themselves the Z's. And I thought it was sort of interesting because he has sort of identified that it was Zachary first, and then I don't remember the other Z names, but several of the Z's. And it was his audience who gave him the name that he was channeling the Z's, which I thought was really great. It wasn't this group of individuals on the other side that were kind of bringing through that information. But it was such a powerful video, and there was a lot. Sometimes, and this is my own aspect that I think I need to heal, is that there was sort of a political slant. And Michael knows how I try to stay out of I like to be flowing easy breezy through life and try to stay away from the conflicts with speed bumps and the drama, what I call third dimensional drama. And so when I see things, I'm a little bit sometimes hesitant because I want to feed my grid, my field, and my vibration to try to keep it as high as possible, no matter what comes through my day. But Michael said, just don't pay attention to it. Just get through it, and you'll find some nuggets of wisdom, which I absolutely did, and especially at the end where he encourages everybody to keep their vibration high. But there were so many amazing and powerful nuggets in this video, and I will post it with the write-up for this show because it's worth checking out, no matter what your beliefs are. And I think that was one of the things that really hit home with me that Lee said when he read the comments, and even Alex on his show said when he read the comments, it seems that there's people all over the board that have different opinions. And thank goodness, because nobody needs to have the same opinion of you, which I thought was so powerful. But there was a statement that he made, and I'm sure, Michael, you wrote it down, but basically the main premise, it was a question. What if you found out you only had 7 days to live? How would it change your perspective on how you were going to live your life? And really, the stark reality of having a 7-day expiration date, for me, I think, would really irrevocably alter my perspective. I think that there would be people that I would call. I would maybe go out for some ice cream, spend more time with my animals, spend time with the people that were important to me, really examine the leaves, sit outside, maybe do some things that were out of my comfort zone that maybe I felt a little bit too vulnerable to try. I would probably, nothing reckless, I wouldn't, free fall off of a building, but I would definitely maybe try some things that would bring me that maximum joy and fulfillment from each passing moment that was left to me. So, Michael, I will pose the question to you, and perhaps you would like to reiterate it exactly what he said. If you did take notes, I'm not sure if you did, but if you had
a lot of interesting copious
notes.
Did you?
Yeah, no, I'd love to hear your insights because it's just such a powerful concept.
It is. I mean, the whole idea is, we live in a world where mostly we interact with it from the 3D level, and that is, we're exposed to something, we go through this process of some emotional connection, we react, we respond, There's the drama of it, and there's the negative feelings and emotions that emanate from things that we experience, that we hold on to, and the way that we go about our lives, what we think is important. We think the work is important, getting up on time and making sure that we get the kids' school lunches together and the whole 9 yards. And, there's these 3D things you do every day. They're rote, right? And somehow on the weekends our life changes, and we say, oh wow, I don't have to go to work, so let's go do something. I know families who have kids that this is a summer, and my girlfriend's own grandkids, her son and daughter-in-law are keeping the kids busy. They're just running from one thing to another because they not only want to keep exposing them to things and see whatever it is that they like and don't like, which I think is wonderful. However, we live in this 3D world. So let's say somebody came to you and said you had 7 days. What about your world would change? Not only from the 3D level. In my view, you pretty much drop the 3D level. All of a sudden, the job's not important. Things that you thought were important, the emotional connections that you had, the tie to negativity that you had, the person that you judged as being in your life as being one thing or another, one negative thing or another, and you said, I'm not talking to them anymore, or your mother or your father, brother, sister, whatever. You have these instances where people don't talk to their siblings or their parents for years at a time because of something that happened. And nobody's the same person anymore, yet there's no connection. So the question is, how valuable would the 3D things be to you anymore? Those little things that you got up, and the favorite breakfast you had after you got out of bed. You're showering. Maybe you went from a run, or went to the gym or whatever. These things that you wrote every day to kind of you spend time, use up time. How valuable would it be to drop those? What would you change? And generally, what Lee Harris was saying is that his disease was saying is that when he was faced with this question, he said, what would become important? What would be important is connection, how I felt, my vibrational level. All of a sudden, those things, the drama, the discord, all these things that made me feel angry or made me feel sad or made me feel some other lower frequency, those things would have no value anymore. They wouldn't. And what would have value are the things that brought you joy, that put a smile on your face, the things that made you feel love deep within your heart, the things that made you laugh and cry happy tears, perhaps. But all of a sudden, you'd be doing things that fostered higher vibrational frequencies. Things that you would go around forgiving yourself, forgiving others. You would be grateful for every moment that you had. You start living from those elements instead of letting them go by the wayside like you've been doing, taking them for granted, perhaps because I'm going to be here for as long as I need to be. You'd try things that you'd never tried before, and you do things that would put a smile on your face and brought fun to life, perhaps, and that made you feel excited and passionate and creative and inspired. And that was his point. He says a lot of times we are spending throughout our day, we're spending a lot of time judging. We're spending a lot of time exposing ourselves to news and other media that literally has an agenda that is not aligned with happiness or joy or freedom, emotional freedom, not aligned with our own sovereignty. It's just completely, but yet we have some connection to it that we feel we need to watch or expose ourselves to it. But if you got 7 days left, who cares what's going on in the world?
You're right.
Right?
Who cares what the comments are? And right. I found that to be so fascinating because there's a lot of, I think he said it didn't matter what you would put out because there are certain individuals, and I think maybe it has to do with validation, but they just aren't really doing too much with their day. And he put in the query, like, instead of making opposite of positive comments, perhaps what could you do with your energy and your vibration if you turn that around and used it to bring something positive into your life? And I really appreciated that because, none of us here on this earth that chose to be here are going to leave or stay here. We're not going to escape that ultimate date. So we know we have a limited lifespan from the moment we take our first breath. We don't know how many days we have. But to have a profound appreciation for the gift of life, it really, I look at so many individuals in my life that do have that have had a second chance through cancer and what they've chosen to do, or perhaps a disability, as you see people in the Special Olympics, and also individuals that have been perhaps injured in the military during a service, and they go on to be athletes, and it's very, very inspiring, and it really does serve as a powerful reminder that we can extract maximum joy and fulfillment no matter what it is that we're doing. And I so appreciated it because it was a good reminder for me, Michael. I very much appreciated the reminder because sometimes I think they call it like the somedays, living in the someday. Someday, I'll speak up for myself. Someday I'll heal from that trauma. Someday I'll forgive them. Someday. And those some days become, I think, you don't know that you have tomorrow. And you don't know when you run into somebody who really is on a limited timeline, and you might be feeling sorry for yourself. I had a client who was actually at the airport, and she was picking up her daughter. And she turned to the woman who was next to her, and she said, "How are you doing today?" And the woman said to her, she said, "Do you really want to know?" And she said, "Yeah, I do want to know," because that's the type of person that Kathy is actually. And this woman said to her, she said, she said, "I have lung cancer and I have less than 6 months to live. And they have tried everything and nothing will work anymore." And to that, Kathy said, "Well, you need to meet Lisa." And it was amazing because this woman who had gone through so many different things reached out, and she did reach out with me, and I started to work with her, and she's still here many, many years later and doing very well and very healthy. And so I think even when you're given, whether it be 7 days or 6 months, somehow you can make a choice sometimes to stay because there's still something more that you have to do. And I really appreciated the video for that reason because Lee and the Z's brought through that we all have a purpose here. There's not one of us, and Alex had brought up an episode of America's Got Talent where this gentleman had been a janitor, and it was the students who encouraged him to go on America's Got Talent because they said he was a really good singer. And he really literally blew the roof off of the whole auditorium. And one of the things Lee said, and I really appreciated this, that we put the hierarchy. There's some people who look down on the job of a janitor and know that there's not one profession, not one person who's more important than anybody else. And look at what he did once he let his passion and allowed himself to step in and be in that vulnerable moment, but also to live as an example that it's never too late and that you can share your gifts with the world. I mean, I really loved it. I have so many different aspects, and so I appreciate that, Michael, because it does serve as it's a somber but powerful reminder, without a doubt.
I agree 110%. It's one of these things, where you have many, many different choices. And I lived, in many cases, years ago I started living every day with a 24-hour rule. The rule helps let go. I put it in my Zero Adversity book. But it's an interesting rule. It's very close to, it's a kindred spirit of the 7 day, if you only had 7 days left to live, but it's something that you can apply every day, like right now, to manage the things that you're exposed to and how you manage your energy. It's really more about what it is. And it's a 24-hour rule. I think I've talked about it maybe a couple of years ago, but if it's not going to make a hill of beans worth of difference, by the end of the day, or within 24 hours, certainly, why are you investing in it? Why are you investing negative energy into it? And it should basically, because this is what people do. They invest judgment. They invest anger. They invest frustration and worry. They invest the anxiety into things that really, on the scale of 1 to 10, are a 1 in terms of value to you in your life, importance to you in your life, right? So if you say to yourself, ask yourself the question, so somebody comes to you with some kind of drama, some whatever, you see something on TV, and you ask yourself, is this going to matter in 24 hours? Heck no. The 24-hour news cycle, number one. Number two, whatever this person's who's come to me is upset about, it won't be the topic of conversation in 24 hours. So I will listen, and then I'll let them ferret it out for themselves, because it's their deal. It's their lesson to be learned. We always think, and this was one of the most challenging things that I had to learn in my second marriage, to somebody who was truly emotional, a truly emotional being. So everything under the sun would get her upset. And I'd be thinking about it going, what value is that going to have? Every time it happened, I'd say, what value does that have? Why dedicate that much intense emotion to something? Why hold on for days and weeks on end? That happens to you? Or why even invest in it and then cover up that you're investing in it, right? Which is even worse. So you're upset about something. You've got these various levels of being upset. So you've got something that has impacted you. A friend passed away, and you're, oh my gosh, I'll never see him again. Blah 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 blah. You take it really hard, and then you go to work, and when you go to work, you bury it. You don't get it. You don't let it go. You bury it until it comes up again, and then you have various layers of this going on. This layer of, why am I still single? Why can't I find someone? That negative diatribe is running way, way down, but it's there, right? You haven't let go of it. It's causing, it's like a volcano. It's down there, kind of the lava's building, but it hasn't exploded yet, right? And then there's some trigger, and then all of a sudden there's some trigger. A trigger. Someone calls you and says, hey, I'm getting married. All of a sudden, boom, that thing, it triggers all that negative emotion you haven't let go of, you've been harboring for weeks, months, and years, and allowing it to eat away at you and eat away at your happiness, your joy, your positivity. And this is the way it works. It's like, wow, the trigger's there. Why am I not with someone? Why isn't this happening to me? Why isn't, you're like, oh my gosh, and usually when that happens, you're with someone who has no idea what it is that you're feeling at the time, or what that lower level diatribe is. They don't have any idea what has scarred your subconscious and what you're still holding on to. And it's amazing to me that, number one, someone would have that, do that, act that way, not in some way gauge something that would help them get past it, get through it, get past, because all of it, as we've been saying, impacts your vibrational power, your vibrational field, your energetic field. It's all there. And it's on your face, it's in your body language. You may not be thinking about it at the moment, but all these things weigh you down over time. And 7 days left to go. Hey, why would you hang on to that? What importance, what value does it have to get together with somebody, before your 7 days are up? Why not just enjoy life and see what happens? You may have an encounter with someone and have an amazing time for a few days. It's possible, but if you're hanging on to all this stuff, And as I like to say, your backpack is full of bricks, and it's getting really heavy, weighing it down, and you can't walk straight anymore, and you can't smile because of all the pain and suffering that these things have caused that you're still hanging on to. My gosh. It's like there's got to be some release, and there's got to be a mechanism for you to not hang on to them in the first place, and that is the reality that that you are the one who's tasked with whether or not you have those bricks in the backpack. There isn't anybody else. As very cool. It said blame is disempowering. Blame is disempowering. And we have a tendency to, in this world, especially in our U.S. society, etc., in the Western world, blame people for things. Blame inanimate objects and people and circumstances for why we feel the way we feel, why we do or don't have what we think we should have. And it really is debilitating. And if you only had 7 days to live, blame would have no place to live.
Truly, it would not.
I mean, why would it? Why would you blame somebody for how you feel if you only had 7 days, right? And think about, and the whole reason for this exercise on the show today with the 7 days is, for our listeners out there, is just to get you thinking about the things that you value in your day that don't actually have any relevance to positive frequencies, that don't encourage positive frequencies, that don't make you feel joy and excited about life and enable you to have fun and feel passionate about yourself, love for yourself and others. It's kindness and compassion, empathy, gratitude, forgiveness, all those things that you can put into a little bowl. It's like it's like allowing something that happened to you take over and decide for you, because you blamed that thing, that how you should feel. The young lady from Hawaii who had her arm taken off by a shark, she's still a champion surfer.
That's incredible.
She didn't allow that incident to debilitate her in any way. She doesn't blame the shark, right? And it was interesting. I got to tell you this little story. I watched this movie last night, and it's got Rob Lowe in it and another young actor, and it's about a boy who's gone to college, and in college he adopts this lab, blonde lab, and they're walking in the Appalachian Trail, and he's walking with another college buddy, and the buddy points out a fox. And the dog is off leash, and the dog runs after the fox. This is actually a true story. He runs after the fox, and the boy can't find the dog, where the dog went. And so they start looking. And I don't want to ruin it, but this is a movie that you have to. I will attempt to find the name of the movie. And I think it's playing on Netflix actually right now. And the dog is lost for like 18 days in the Appalachians.
Wow.
And they do finally find the dog, but the dog had traveled 118 miles, I think, on the Appalachian Trail, and they found him again. And
that's a miracle.
They got these
really?
It's a beautiful, beautiful story. You have a box of Kleenex. It's got a bunch of really, really wonderful scenes in it, and this kid gives up everything, including his own health, almost his own health, to find this dog. And it's just I've seen it twice, and it's just a beautiful, beautiful story. And I love the ones that are based on actual events, and where at the end of the movie you see the actual dog and the actual kid himself and the father and everybody standing there, and it's just mind-blowingly beautiful. And when we wanted to do this topic, when we agreed to do this topic today about 7 days, I mean, I started thinking about a myriad of things just in my own life that I would just say, oh, that's not important anymore.
Right.
not important. Getting together with this person or calling that person would be incredibly important. Zooming with that person or FaceTiming with this person to catch up, see how they're doing, and all of a sudden connection becomes the most important thing. Making sure you're letting people know how you feel about them, and making sure that you dropped all your own baggage. It's like whatever that backpack is you're carrying, you literally dropped it off a cliff down a deep, dark hole. It's done, right? It has no value, no relevance anymore. The grudges that you have in life have no relevance anymore.
You're right.
And you realize how you've been wasting time.
Yeah, and Michael, it doesn't even have to be losing your arm to a shark or, grudges with individuals. A lot of times we allow minor annoyances or even like little petty concerns to really just stop us in our tracks. I mean, I know I've been in a car with individuals where we're in traffic and somebody will come in and cut in front of them, not just to be one car ahead, and it just sets the person off. And I'm thinking, well, we're all going to end up in the same place wherever we want to go anyway, and we're still in traffic. So it really doesn't matter, but it will upset some people's apple cart to the point that they just allow it to snowball into their evening and whatnot, rather than just allow it to sort of fade away and focus on what truly matters. And in that video, and I wrote this down because it really made an impact on me. Lee said, if you're willing to take just one tiny step in the direction of progress, one tiny step in the direction of healing, one tiny step in the direction of opening, it will amplify you so fast, you'll unfurl your energy onto the planet in a way you haven't previously experienced. And when you do that, you'll find other people doing the same. And I thought to myself, that's what connection is. That's what being connected to love is like. You take that one step. So if somebody cuts you off in traffic, bless them. Oh my gosh, I'm so glad they didn't hit my car. You obviously need to get somewhere. And how many times have you been on a plane and people are getting ready to deplane? Somebody really has to catch a connecting flight, and they're trying to get to the front, but there's people kind of meandering. But inevitably, if you speak up and say, would you mind letting me through? I have to catch a flight. People open their hearts. They'll open up the aisle. They'll let you pass through, and they'll wish you well on your way. But it doesn't have to be anything that you have to hold on to. And really in that, I always go back to Hector in Search of Happiness, because there were some things in his life where he had to really take a look at what it was that was important. He had more than 7 days, certainly, but he had a lot of things that kind of, in his search, some people have a bucket list. Some people have just a few items on that bucket list. Some people don't even have a bucket list. Or maybe they don't write it down, but it's in their heart. Or there's a goal that's like a lifelong goal that they wanted to achieve, that they never even took the first step. I met a woman this morning who actually, her family was from Germany, and I asked her, I said, do you speak German? She said, no. I said, when my mother came here, my father was in the military, and she didn't want to be embarrassed that she didn't know how to speak English, so she never taught us to speak German. And I said, well, have you tried some different things? And she said, well, she had done a few things. She said she's not so good, but it's something that she wants to do. And I said, made a couple suggestions of things that are easy that she could have playing in the background. I said, before you know it, you'll get a bigger vocabulary. But that's something so simple. You can learn a language, I don't know, in 7 days, but maybe if you were hypnotized or something. But there are things that you can do, including acts of kindness. When I was younger, my mother had bought me a children's book called Morgan and Me by Stephen Cosgrove. And Morgan and Me was about a princess, and Morgan came across this unicorn who had his horn stuck in something, and he said, please, will you help me? And she said, yeah, I'll help you, but just a little bit later. And she found something else to do and something else to do, and she kept him waiting. Finally, when she got around to it, she had taken his horn out of where it was bound. And then, sure enough, she found herself in hardship. And she reached out to him, and he said, remember that time when you just left me? Waiting in that land of later. And it's interesting because I think, for me anyway, it really impacted me as a kid, and I always try not to live in the land of later because you never know. There is not a guarantee that there's a tomorrow for somebody. You don't know. So when I say goodbye to my great aunt, and I know you do this with your mom, you're always sure to tell them that you love them and how much you appreciate them, and grateful for every moment that you have.
Yeah, the land of regret is a very, very, very dark place, and one that can be tormenting. I know people who allow themselves to be tormented by comments by regrets that they have about something they did say or shouldn't have said or wanted to say, and they were living their own lives, and there's always an excuse. Something that's associated with the 3D world. I needed to get that degree. I needed to pass that test. I needed to make sure that I got that promotion. I needed to make sure that I lived in this house in a specific way, in the perfect neighborhood, blah, blah, blah. There's always so many things. And what it really boils down to in life is that none of that has any relevance when it comes to connection with people. And thinking about ways to bring people together that maybe don't know each other. Now, we're planning once a year we do a crab feed, and we get a 30-pound box of crab from my girlfriend's restaurant, and we invite people over, and we cover all the tables in the big island with paper and get trash bins with big plastic bags, and we stand around the living room drinking wine and eating crab for like 4 or 5 hours.
That sounds delightful.
Just talking. I'm cooking crab in the back. I'm bringing it in. I just put it in a pan on the table, grab it, eat it, throw the shells on the paper. At the end of the night, the paper gets rolled up and put in a big trash bag and put outside. It's not about the food as much as it is the connection, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's about the connection that people have, we get together once a year, and anybody who knows us, and we always make sure that we have at least 4 new people for the next year, because some people are dropping out because they left, they can't make it, they're gone, or they've moved, or whatever. And there's always who are we going to invite this year? Who can come from last year, and who isn't going to be here, and who do we need to replace with some more people? And it's gotten up to about 20 people now. Just standing around. We don't concern ourselves with chairs. We move the stools out of the way from the island. Everybody stands around the island, and some people sit at the table. It's got 6, 8 chairs, and everybody sits does what they want to do. They're just eating crab and talking, and getting to know each other and talking about life, and the good things in life. And it isn't about the latest news. It's not about politics. It's not about religion. It's just about getting together and just talking and laughing, having a good time. There's some nice music playing in the background, some jazz music, and it's just fun. And to me, if I could do that once a month, I would. It's probably get a little old a month, but we at least get together with 2 people, 3 people, 2 people a week. 2 couples a week we try to get together with. I'm going to a wine dinner tonight with one of my girlfriend's best friends for a long time, 40-year best friends, and it's just an opportunity to sit and also meet some new people, because there's going to be 30, 35 people there tonight, almost 40 people. So there's always somebody new to meet and to connect with, converse with. It's a lot of fun. Your heart opens wide. You just. It isn't about what they do for a living or where they are. And I want to make one comment here, because it really brought back about something you said just a little earlier that Lee Harris had said, and it's about the janitor. We do put people. We have this hierarchy that someone came up with in the last, I don't know, the caste system, right? Somebody came up with this a million years ago. I'm sure it existed. There's always the leader, and then there's this person and that person, some kind of totem pole of people, right? A hierarchy of people. And one of the things that the Z said is never put one human being over another. Never put a human being over. Never value a human being more than you value yourself. And never, and never. That means you don't look up to somebody, and you don't look down on somebody. We're all souls in human form. That's all we are. Non-physical beings that have decided to come and hopefully have fun, enjoy this life, learn a few lessons, and then go back to non-physical form. That's what we're doing. And so I've learned this in the acting trade, right? When they have this whole A-listers, B-listers, C-listers thing, right? It's crazy, but it's everywhere. It exists. If I meet a CEO from a company, I don't consider them to be any more valuable than me. I don't consider.
Right.
I meet an actor. Sure, you meet him. You get to meet somebody that you see on TV or saw in a movie or whatever. And in the end, it's just a job to them. It's just a job that pays an income. It's just a profession they chose. And anybody else, it doesn't matter. Captain of an airliner, yeah. If we start valuing people based on how much money they make and where they live and what they drive, which is pretty much the case around the world, then we've kind of gone off the deep end a little bit and kind of lost our way. And my goal is always to connect with people on a level, because I tell people all the time, I said, just because somebody has achieved a certain quote-unquote status which is really other people valuing them more than they value themselves, it doesn't mean that they don't also have issues dealing with the 3D world, or that they're any more spiritually connected than you are, spiritually aware. In many cases, I find them to be more wrapped up in the 3D world because the 3D world kind of owns them. They've built this persona, and they have to feed that persona every single day, and it can be very, very tiring to feed a persona that you've created for yourself. And not to berate Kardashians, but people look up to Kim Kardashian because she's become taken her reality online status, influencer status, and kind of blown it up into a worldwide multi-million-dollar business. And you know what? Kudos to her. However, I don't see her being any more valuable than me or anybody else. That would be ludicrous to actually consider that she has more value than I do. And really, really interesting that people have that we do that to ourselves, and we really, really shouldn't. We're all just as valuable, all just as viable and relevant in this world of souls.
Without a doubt, Michael. And I think that, there's something in accepting. I always try to seek out peace and acceptance through my meditation practice, through my inner work.
Oh, yeah.
I always say I want to come out of this lifetime as karmically clean as possible. So when I have something that triggers me, I'm like, okay, and I just expounded on the benefits of Ho'oponopono again. Forgive me, I'm sorry, thank you, I love you. And how powerfully transformative that is for me. And then also my gratitude practice. So even if I had 7 days, I think I would probably go on rampages of appreciation, reflecting on my life and being grateful for all of the experiences, both positive and opposite of positive. For the people that I've met, for the opportunities I've had, for every sensory experience that I could even imagine. And I probably lay down in the grass and just sit there and wonder and just watch the ants or whomever. even the flies and the mosquitoes, I'm sure. But I'd find a way to allow them to just do what they do to my vessel until I'm not here anymore. Right?
Of course you would. I think it was Char that said, that when we when we get out there and engage with life, we have to keep fun and excitement. Make sure that whatever you're doing, whatever you choose to do, excites you and brings you joy. And if you follow that lead, you'll start making choices and decisions, hopefully, that are different than the ones that you've been making in the past, that have been leading to outcomes and consequences that have not made you feel as joyful as you actually could. And we write it off. We literally, we justify it. We justify not feeling good, not feeling the joy and the fun because if I don't do this, I've got to do that, because if I don't do this, that's going to occur. And if I don't, and I can't feel good about this. Well, heck yeah, you can. It was either said, the person, when you express your gratitude to the person who has cut in front of you, maybe they saved you the split second that you otherwise would have caused an accident later on.
Sure.
If nothing is pointless,
right? And
nothing's pointless.
I just want to interject, Michael, because you said something and it just brought back another point from the interview, and he was talking about the news, and he said that we tune into the news because we think we need to stay informed. And he used a terminology, I don't quite remember what it was, maybe you will, but that really, if you didn't turn on the news, would it really matter? What does it matter that's going on that is, and he used the word distraction, but he also used another word, and I apologize, I can't remember what it was, but almost to the point where it was taking us away from our power. And he said, your vibrational power is your contribution to the earth. And if you think about that, so if you keep your vibration high, if you keep emanating love from your heart or gratitude or any of the positive words that you can go into, you are contributing. And I love that. And did you write, by any chance, did you make notes on that section? Because you're much better than I am about making notes.
Yeah, we talk about our vibrational power, and when it comes to our news and the outside sources from which we gather information, and this whole idea that we feel we need to know what's going on in the world. The Z's alluded to the fact that that the news it's contrived to make you feel a certain way, to remain compliant, to instill fear in in all of us. And you can tell that by the way the news is presented, because fear is how the media, how corporations, and everything in the world is sold. And there was a book that talked about that avoidance as a marketing technique. It's the number one marketing technique. It's avoidance. It's avoidance because avoidance instills fear in people. Oh, I don't want to do that, so I better take this thing. Oh, I don't want to go there, so I better go buy this thing. Right? It's fear. People, and fear is very controlling. It can be if you're completely unaware of the message that's being presented to you, and that there are forces out there that want us to feel fear and lower frequencies, because that's how they control what we do, where we go, and how we think. And the whole world, corporate culture depends upon fear. Don't do this or you'll might get fired. And that's just one of the biggest ones, right? And so avoidance, fear, stay away from those things. Recognize that you have vibrational power. And the one thing that caught me that I thought was really, really brilliant is that our vibrational power, our vibrational frequencies, are actually more powerful than any government or anything on this planet, any government, any corporation, anyone. Our vibrational power. When we go inside to work on ourselves and elevate our vibrational frequencies to the highest level possible and keep them there, maintain them as through awareness, through our own awareness and through our own effort. That is more valuable than anything you could ever experience. It's more powerful than any negative experience that you could ever have in this world. Even the loss of a child, which is to a parent one of the most tragic things that they feel that could occur. However, we have to be cognizant of the language that we're using as well. Tragic, end of the world, I will never be the same, my life will never be the same. These concepts that we apply to events that occur, they're just events. I've always said this. They're just events that occur.
You're right.
How we see them gives them life or not, and how we perceive them. And that's something I'm ever cognizant of, and it's a daily mission to understand that when you see something that happens to touch you in a certain way, make you cringe, right? Tighten that solar plexus because you're like, oh my gosh. Well, understand that is something that you can choose to feel or not. That you don't have to see. You just let it be what it is. And if you had 7 days, if you'd let it be and go, that's not important. The little things, that's not important. That's not that important,
And that's how he introduced it, Michael, because that was how he introduced the exercise. And he called it an exercise because he said, if you find yourself afraid of something or finding yourself in that pattern, if you would just imagine where that you, in the next 7 days, you're not going to be on this planet. And he said, we promise you will not spend the next 7 days worried about what's happening.
Right.
You will not spend the next 7 days thinking, I hope everything resolves in that area or this area or whatever is going on. You will not spend your next 7 days thinking about that. And so if in your human body, you have 7 days left, why not be in wonder? Why not be in amazement? Why not just open up your heart and fully love, even if it's just even walking up to a stranger and saying, you look like you need a hug today. Do you mind if I give you a hug? Sometimes you see people who are just having a really bad day, and you kind of give them an etheric hug, you go into your heart space, and you're like, oh, I can just feel for that cashier. I can tell that they're having a bad day.
Yeah, and you can say something that's elevating, emotionally elevating. And that's, you wouldn't worry about drama. You wouldn't worry about an argument. You wouldn't worry about any shred of discord that occurred that day. You wouldn't concern yourself with it. Why would you? Right? You'd be thinking, oh my gosh, why do I want to involve myself in that? That's not the rabbit hole I want to go down into. I'm staying positive. I'm going to do this. I'm going to go skip. I'm going to go skip jump rope. I'm going to go draw oh my gosh, what is that thing we used to draw as kids? And we used to skip...
Hopscotch?
Hopscotch, yeah. There you go. Yep. Sorry, the word was...
Or even just get some sidewalk chalk. I keep sidewalk chalk on my porch. And I love to write thank you on my sidewalk for the mailman. And I draw hearts. And I draw hearts all the way up my steps. I have concrete steps. And I don't know. I mean, if I don't go into the neighbor's space. I don't mark up their sidewalks. I just do write whatever it is that I want.
You do your own.
I do.
Yeah, and you would the person who's next door to you, who you haven't maybe talked to ever, never met, you'd probably go knock on the door and say, "Hey, I appreciate you as a neighbor. Thank you for being here. I've never met you. My name is so and so." Right? Maybe, and it would make you feel good to connect with them. And why that particular day? It's not important to go into a story. We all just have this tendency to want to tell our story to people. It doesn't matter. That's not what's important.
Right.
I did this, I did that. I survived. I went through all this thing and survived cancer. But you went through an hour of conversation to describe how you got to where you are today. It doesn't matter. None of that is important. It's wasting time. The time is in connection and finding out how people feel about themselves and their life today. That's where it is. Yeah, celebrate the fact that you were successful at making sure that you were here for a little bit longer, if cancer is something that you experienced. however you were able to go into remission or eliminate that dis-ease. Point is, we have a tendency to want to tell our negative stories to people. Resist the temptation at all costs. It's interfering with somebody else's higher frequencies, and they don't really need to know it. It's not really important for them to know what's going on. And I attempt to remember this at every turn. When something happens, I almost, somebody pulls in front of me and I have to run off the road to avoid them. You just let it go at that particular point and resist the temptation to tell your significant other when you get home. It's not important.
Yeah, exactly. Don't feed it into the grid, as the teachers say.
Right. Don't feed that negativity. Don't feed that negative, what you perceive as a negative event. It was just something that happened. Again, that person might have cut in front of you. You never can tell whether there might have been an angel at the wheel and they said, this person, we're going to avoid, the only way I can get this person to stop moving forward and avoid that thing down the road is by cutting them off.
Mm-hmm.
Think that way. That is, that person did you a favor. I think you said that earlier. That person did you a favor. People are always doing
They
you a
did.
favor, right?
Mm-hmm.
You get to a movie and the line is a mile long, right? And maybe it's a mile long because you were supposed to go do something else that night. It's like, be open to things, right?
In some ways, Michael, it's kind of like finding that magic lamp, right? You get this magic lamp and you rub it, and all of a sudden a genie pops out and he says, I'll give you 3 wishes. But you can't ask, one of your wishes can't be to ask for more wishes. So if you had that, where would you open yourself up to? Potentially what possibilities, knowing that you could wish for anything ever that was possible. And I think that's sort of what those 7 days would be like, that all of a sudden you'd have a new perspective on, and maybe even a more open mind to things that perhaps you hadn't even seen before. And it just would give you a new view on life.
And you wouldn't waste time on things that were irrelevant.
Mm-hmm.
That things that didn't, relevance in my view is kind of it's a word I like lately because we have a tendency to waste time and our own energy and our own frequencies, higher vibrational frequencies on things that are, for all intents and purposes, not relevant to our moving forward. They're not elevating ourselves and those around us. They just literally detract from all that. And that's what I mean by relevance. I talk about it in golf all the time. Why waste time on that mishit? Why not take that energy and redirect it towards your next effort? Learn. If you've been playing the game long enough, you'll know why you did what you did, and then you can work it out. And by the next shot, you can relax and move on. But if you get all upset by it, tension occurs, muscular tension. Mental tension occurs, discord in your mind, and doubt and fear can creep into your psyche. And when that occurs, then you're like standing over the ball in the next shot wondering if you can actually do anything at all. And that does occur. And then you mess the next one up, and then it's a compounding factor. And then you get to the point where you're just so upset that things that you haven't been able to do what you know you can do and you have done in the past, that you just implode. Some people, that's what a lot of golfers do, you just implode, start throwing clubs, breaking clubs, yelling things, beating themselves up. And in life, this is what we do. We allow things to get to us, and then we compound them with other negative thoughts and words, self-talk, you name it. And responses to things. The responses are continually negative. And what's it Einstein said? You can't solve a problem with the thinking that created the problem. At the level,
same level that you created the problem.
Yeah, the same level, the same thought process, the same level, energetically, whatever. You have to elevate your frequency. You have to elevate your frequency, and if you can do that, then you're a different person automatically. We're all different people when we elevate our frequencies. When we learn something new, when we connect with somebody new, it's fantastic. And that's what I love about life, is it offers us that and a host of other things that can help us elevate ourselves, our lives, our emotions and feelings, and move forward. And they open doors like, man, the doors are open big time. Doors are open big time. All you got to do is just be that way. Which was the other thing that he was saying is when you live from a higher level, anything and everything is possible. Anything and everything is possible, and Bashar said doubt kills everything. Mm-hmm. Doubt is our biggest challenge as human beings, and evidently on other higher planets with higher level beings, doubt doesn't exist. And as Aziz said, names don't exist. I thought that was great.
What did you say?
In the beginning of the conversation, when Aziz come on, the guy asked, "Why do you call him Aziz?" Right? The host said, "Why do you call him Aziz?" Well, because they adopted names. Names aren't important to them. Where they live in the plains that they live on, or names don't have any value. It's not names. Nothing's in a name, and they don't have names. So they had to create names because that's how we relate and identify people. And I'm sitting there going, "That's so great." And
yeah, true.
It's people's names we have to label. You said literally you need labels down here. You have to, you thrive based on labels. And where we come from, labels don't exist. You're just
And I think you referred to something also about the soul having a knowing and an understanding of what your destiny is and why you're here. And I really, that resonated so much with me. I just truly, and we don't know when that tipping point, when we will step out into the place where we are truly connecting with that moment in time for the one small thing that we came here to do. Or maybe it's a great big thing. And he said that everybody's waiting for these young souls. And I really love this too. The new young souls are coming in and they're going to save the planet. And he's like, if you're here on the planet right now, you have a purpose. And maybe it's to teach those young souls or to share your knowledge or whatever. And I think even if you only had 7 days left, guess what? Those 7 days you can connect with a lot of individuals. And I don't know if there's any such thing as young souls, old souls, because I would suspect in a place where there are no names, there is no age and no time and no space and no thing. It would just be...
Yeah, I agree with you 110%. The other conversation that I'm going to send you, which is interesting because in Journey of Souls, the book, it talks about you have a council that you each of us as a soul has a council that we confer with when we are non-physical beings. And technically, your level of soul is based on the number of people on your council. So that's really the only difference. And the council members, each one has a virtue that you seek to obtain, and compassionate, forgiving, grateful. These are would be the souls on your council that would represent that you when you incarnated as a physical being, that you earn these badges of forgiveness and gratitude because you learned your lesson. You learned how to be forgiving, how to be grateful, how to be compassionate and loving and the like, right? So the number of people you have on your council that represent the virtues, the elements that you are looking to learn, that's your level of being a soul, and you can kind of tell that by some of the higher souls that have incarnated, Jesus, Buddha, Dalai Lama, other people, Gandhi, and the like. There are people who have come to elevate us, take us to another level. And with regard to what you just said about the fact that people that we're here, and that younger souls. I mean, younger people, and then there are older people, right? Younger, Gen Z, Gen X, whatever. And then there's, of course, the rest of us. And we have, as a boomer that I am, it's about me being alert to the fact that I am powerful. I am an empowered being. I have vibrational power, as much vibrational power as as anyone else, as a young person has.
Mm-hmm.
If I become self-aware, a young person becomes self-aware, we have the exact amount of vibrational power, which is immense, infinite, to be able to cause, to create change in this vibrational plan that we call Earth. And that's the whole idea. We're all just as powerful, and it's just a function of whether we realize we have that power or not. And then
right.
As like Merlin, we figure out how to apply it effectively. Right?
True. Very true, Michael. And, I'm so grateful for the time that I have with you and for conversations like this, because it gives me a deeper appreciation for my life. It makes me reflect and to think about things. And I hope our audience here at PRN FM and also on the Connect to Love podcast do find some value in what we have to share, because there's so many things I truly believe. Michael and I we tuned into this exact topic after he sent it to me. He said, I'd like to speak about this from this topic. I said, oh my gosh, I flagged that exact moment. And so whether it's my guides, your guides, the whole collective, whether it's the Z's that are working behind the scenes, and all your guides in our audience, like what do your souls need? Teachers,
everybody's here.
Grateful.
I agree. I saw him at too. I appreciate it. It's so nice to be here with you, always.
Yeah. And until next time, enjoy an amazing day. Make it amazing. We always do. Thank you.
Bye-bye.